Welcome back. You're listening to the Inspirational Parent right here on your hometown station, KHTS. Today we are just doing a general meet and greet introduction to my dad, Alex Urbina's book, The Inspirational Parent. And before we went on the break, we were talking about parents kind of being open to coaching and adopting these new styles of parenting for the sake of their relationships with their kids as they get older. So one of the things I wanted to do was read an actual quote from your book, and then we could kind of decipher it, just pick things out. So it says, what makes her being the mother of the story we were talking about earlier, what makes her so inspirational is her willingness to be wrong about how she was parenting her son, courageously open-minded and rigorously committed to how to reinvent herself. So I really like that you wrote it down for me to say, because that's something that I really am inspired by, parents that are willing to say, hey, you know what, maybe I was wrong about the way I made that decision. Maybe I shouldn't have grounded him and I should have made sure that he was okay. Or maybe I should. There's a lot of things that I think parents, they stick to that controlling style parenting of, you disobeyed me and now you're going to pay for it, instead of considering maybe he disobeyed me because there's something else going on. Maybe he disobeyed me because he's having trouble in school or with his friends, and how can I help? And to me, that's so powerful for a parent to come from that point of view, and it's not easy. It's going to be a challenge for you to switch over as a parent to that mindset, especially after 15 years. Let's say your kid's already in high school. Mm-hmm. Let's say your kid's about to graduate high school, already in college. You're still interacting with them, and it's not too late to teach them how to be in society, teach them how to be your son or daughter. So I really like that one, that you can acknowledge that from that mother, and two, that she was willing and open to admit that she was wrong and open to reinventing herself. So I want to go over the distinction of reinventing yourself and really let everybody know, especially if you're running it through your brain, what does that mean and how do I get there?
You're talking about the distinction of reinventing yourself? Reinventing yourself is about, exactly like you said, it's about the willingness to be wrong about the way you currently see it. Or if we take the word wrong out, let's insert, I'm open to the possibilities that there are other ways, or I'm open to the possibility that there are more effective ways or effective choices that I can make other than the ones that I'm currently know that work already. Because you got to see yourself as a parent that has put themselves in a certain box or created a certain pattern or behavior or framework that you've been operating for so long. And from that concept, you have to be open to, all right, am I willing to create a whole new set of rules? Am I willing to be taught by somebody what are some of the shortcomings or some of the areas of improvement that I need to make? Am I willing to figure out how to reinvent myself as a human being and as a parent so I could be more effective, so I can get to the next level of results called extraordinary parenting? And so that is reinventing yourself, is deciding that you're going to bring new tools, you're going to develop new growth, and that you're going to learn about yourself such that you can make new choices and make new choices that you're creating new results for yourself.
Yeah, and one thing I wanted to point out, because, I hate telling people that they're wrong, because they're not wrong. So one thing I want to point out, that reinventing yourself doesn't mean switching from wrong to right, or admitting that maybe you were wrong doesn't mean you're parenting wrong. It just means that scenario, that situation, how you're choosing to handle things could have been better. So what I really like about the idea of reinventing yourself is really...
Even the word better can still imply that one is better than the other, which goes back to this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. That's why I love the word effective. Because effective is based on results. Like, was it effective enough? Did you get the results that you wanted? Rather than it's wrong or didn't work or I failed, or, effective is a really good word.
Well, us normal people use the word better. No, I'm kidding. But I really think that if you if you were to just try, let's say I'm gonna just throw out a scenario. Your son comes home late at night, 2 hours past curfew, hasn't been answering his phone, is in a bad mood. You're up waiting for them, waiting for him with your husband or wife, and you want to have that conversation right now as they walk into the door. He's probably angry or upset about whatever happened out there. Just wants to go straight to his room and go to bed. You want to sit there and you want to yell at him and you want to make that process finish or go through. So I know that when I am in a scenario where I'm upset, I don't want to come home and then be hounded for all of the mistakes that I made on top of all of the things that happened earlier that night. So maybe what that looks like, being more effective, is letting him go in his room, sleep on it, and then first thing in the morning at breakfast, you bring it up. But don't say anything. Your kid's going to be shocked. They're going to be shocked, and I'm sure they're going to feel a lot better and more willing to talk in the morning.
I love that. I think that takes a high level of awareness for a parent to be observing and watching how he comes in and the words that he says and his demeanor. Like, you have to really learn how to be present in the moment and observing all the behavior patterns and the mannerisms, because before he even says anything to you out of his mouth, he's already communicating to you when he walks in. And so those are the things that I like teaching parents, is what to look for and what this means and what are you feeling when he's walking in, what's the sense you're getting, and teaching people how to access those kinds of interpersonal tools that they have never been taught or no one has pointed out to them, or they don't realize that they have that. And that's part of what the book is about, is to realize that you have some interpersonal tools within you that you can access that you don't even realize, that no one has ever pointed out, or you've never understood the concept, or no one's kind of explained it to you. There's some things that you have, some qualities that God gave you that you're not tapping into. And if you tap into them, they are powerful and they create results. They help people feel safe around you. They have people trust you more. They have people willing to engage and have a conversation with you based on whether you bring those tools or not with you.
Yeah, and I also want to stress that I can see this strategy being more effective, not because I am a kid and I want to be cut a break, but because I'm a kid and I've been there where I've been hounded when it seemed like nothing else could go wrong. And there's a little bit of anxiety from the drive from whatever just happened to you to the drive home where you know you're about to get into trouble. So that anxiety right there alone could stress me out for months. So when I get home and I go in my room, I'm not sitting there like, oh yeah, I just got away with that. I'm sitting in my room like, oh my gosh, whatever just happened to me, I'm still being affected by, and I'm still processing. I hope mom and dad don't come in here because I just can't deal with it right now.
Right. And let's say in that scenario, let's say instead of that being a guy, let's say that was you. You walked in the room. First thing I do is come in, and I want to help teach you a lesson. So I'm trying to engage with you to land the distinction I want to land, or point out something that you did wrong so that you can learn that lesson right now. And in the first conversation or the first few words, I'm noticing in your tone the way that you're responding to me, like, I know, Dad. That tone is telling me that you've probably been beating yourself up for the whole hour of your ride back or whatever it is. So I have to be really aware and mindful and in tune with those kinds of things. And if I'm noticing those things, then I can now respond back to you and go, you know what, you probably had a tough night, right? And you go, yeah. And then I can say, how about we talk about this tomorrow? And then the look on your face, like your eyeballs get really big, like, really? You don't have to say it, but the way you respond, like, yeah, that'd be great. And even in your tone, you responding with that would be awesome, or I really appreciate that, is letting me know I'm on the right track. My gut, my intuition, and feeling and reading all that, and me asking you that question, and then your response is like, okay, let me give her that break. And then, I love you, I'm glad you're safe. That's all that matters to me, and let's talk about it in the morning. Give you a hug, give you a kiss, I go to the room. Now, my wife's like, did you let her have it? And it's like, no, I didn't let her have it, because I could tell that she was probably already going through her own process, and me having that conversation with her right now would not set her up to win. So what I did was I gave her a break tonight, and tomorrow we'll have a powerful conversation as adults, and we'll walk away with the learning lesson both on her end and our end. That's the kind of scenario that can be course corrected when you're conscious, when you're aware, when you're in the moment, and you're reading people rather than just having my own agenda. My own agenda is I'm just going to come in and I'm going to scold you and I'm going to tell you how bad and wrong you were about making that decision, because my agenda is more important than what you learning that lesson is.
Yes. And I also want to point out that I think all of us, just as human beings, mother, son, daughter, brother, sister, whatever your relationship is, we are all really, really selfish in the sense that, well, I'll speak for myself so that I'm not offending anybody, but I'm really selfish in the sense that I don't care sometimes about how that person feels. Me saying what I need to say and me feeling better so that I can get off of it is more important to me sometimes than how you're feeling. So I ignore all of the signs, the I know, I'm sorry's, the sad puppy dog eyes. I ignore all that just so I could just let you have it. And it is really selfish of me to do that, because I know that and I'm smart, I'm on a conscious journey. So afterwards I beat myself up. I can't believe I did that. That was really messed up. So even for me, not being a parent, just interacting with people in my everyday life, I beat myself up when I'm in that position. So I'm trying to practice right now in my relationship so that when I am a parent, it comes easy. You know, I get to be a grandma instead of a mom. You know, I get to have the patience and the love and the nurturing energy that a grandma has, which is my goal eventually. So, but one of the things I just really wanted to stress was I'm very selfish. I'm not paying attention sometimes to the signs. I can't even imagine a parent, a grown adult who's got bills, got to feed you, got to dress you, and your brother and your sister, you know. So I can't imagine all of those things, you know, you being able to be on this conscious journey with those things. So if you are, I applaud you, and I'm so happy for you. And
yeah, and what you just described is a great characteristic of unconscious parents that are on this journey of being right about how they see it and wanting you, the son or daughter, to see it their way. And they really do have just an agenda, and the agenda is more about them. And I think conscious parenting is about figuring out what your kids need from us as parents, and then figuring out how to reinvent myself such that I give my kids what they need on their own journey, like meeting you where you are. Imagine if my whole parenting journey was about figuring out where you are, and then I have to course correct me to meet you where you're at, such that you have that awakening and you have that powerful lesson and you have that aha moment, and then I'm nurturing you through this process of developing your own self-confidence and developing your own ability to think for yourself, and so that's really what conscious parenting is figuring out how to reinvent myself in every pivotal moment such that my kid receives it well. And at the end of the day, that's what is inspiring to kids. Earlier, you were talking about the scenario with that parent, and I was acknowledging her, and I was letting the reader know how inspired I was for her willingness to own up to her shortcomings, and she was owning up, right? In that owning up, as a parent, when you're owning up to your kids love that. And that's inspiring to them to see a mom or dad sit down in front of you and say, hey, you know what, son, maybe I made a mistake. Or, hey, you know what, maybe I could have made a better choice. I realize now in hindsight that I chose out of fear, and so I'm sorry for that. Kids are inside, they're doing backflips because, how often do our parents admit that they make mistakes? How often do they let us in on their journey? How often do they apologize for something that they did? When we're kids, we rarely hear that. And so when we get a parent that is on that journey of opening up and sharing at that level, kids get excited. And I think that at the end of the day, that's what really kids want, is they want parents to be authentic and honest and open, and let them in on that journey of growth.
Yeah, and I think it starts at something much, much smaller. So, for example, when I was a kid, my mom used to dress me and my sister up alike. We used to dress like in the same outfits, and we would be really cute. We were really cute, pretty outfits. There is a gap between maybe age 4 to age 10 where I dressed gross because my mom let me dress myself. There was a point where she had to give up all of those cute little girl outfits that she would go out and buy and put together to let me dress like a tomboy in mismatched colors with the wrong shoes. So I can acknowledge my mom and see for her that there's a lot of other things that she gave up, and you as parents, there's a lot of things that switching to the coaching style parent you're going to have to give up. And I'm sure that's really hard. And I'm crying because we just have a lot of opportunities being your kids that a lot of other kids I already know don't have, simply from little things like that. Switching the way you parent your kids, because it would have been real easy to say, no, sit down, you're putting this dress on. You're going to church, you have to put a dress on. But no, I got to be a kid and run around in church in my overalls and so
your cowboy boots mismatched. And I think that journey of that awareness was, we had to look and go, okay, what's more important? Us looking like a pretty family at church, is that about us? Is that about our egos? Or is it more important to have my daughter decide for herself that she can make her own choices? Do we want to build up kids that believe in themselves because we gave them the space to make their own choices and along with the mistakes? And so I think it was more important for us to let you have your own little identities, and it took a lot of courage on our part to trust that was what was needed and what was important. And we hoped that by letting you make that choice for yourself, that it would build your confidence, and that later on that you would figure it out. And yeah, it does. It is a sacrifice sometimes to give that up.
Right, and I'm not just talking about clothes. I'm talking about all the other things that you have to sacrifice. But it kind of blows my mind that that's such a incredible concept for 23, 25-year-olds to have, when your kids are so little and you're working to raise them the best that you can, and there's a lot going on. You got to support them, and you got to, you have other commitments that aren't just constantly 24/7. How am I going to be the best parent today?
Yeah.
So.
And on the flip coin of that, are some parents that they're not aware enough yet to notice that or to be forward thinking like that. And so what they do is they're like, I don't care, you're wearing this dress. And so what they do is they'll force their kids to wear whatever they give them. And then on the back end, they're wondering why their 23-year-old daughter has resentments, or now has this phobia about dressing, or has done a 360 and has cut her hair and has shaved her hair off and is now expressing herself with tattoos and earrings. I'm not saying that that's all bad. I'm just saying that the shock of you going, where did this come from? Well, it probably came from you being so rigorous about having your son or daughter dress the way you want them to dress, think the way you want them to think. Now all of a sudden they're coming out. They're like, I'm coming out, right? And they're busting out with, this is how I want to live my life. So kind of like being rebellious. And so those are the flip side of you not being willing to give a little bit and to create a safe space for your kids to figure out who they are and around you and in your life.
We have to take a quick break, but stay tuned for more of the Inspirational Parent right here on your hometown station, KHTS. Welcome back. You're listening to the Inspirational Parent right here on your hometown station, KHTS. Wow. Okay. We did a little bit of a introduction to your book and what it's kind of about, but I wanted to go ahead and point out some of the things that I really liked, and I'm only on the intro. So like I said, I'm only on page 8, and I had probably could do a whole nother show on the stuff that I learned and am excited to read about. But one of the things that I really, really loved, of course, was the quote that you had said to the mother about her willingness to open and to learn. And another thing was, there's a little section where she tells you, I I don't know what to do. He's not listening. So I kind of wanted to use the last couple of minutes to go over what I'm excited about in this book, is that there's a lot of tools in here. I mean, I haven't read it, but I already know just by the way that you speak in the last couple of years doing this show, there's going to be a lot of tools in here where your kids are going to listen. So we could talk forever. We could do the show for 10 years just based on the tools that are going to be in this book. And I still wouldn't know what to do with them. So that's like the one thing that I'm most excited about, is getting those tools, not just for parents, but for me as a young adult, interacting with my friends in my relationships. And eventually when I'm a parent, these are tools that I'm already going to have in my tool belt before I'm a parent. But if you are already a parent and you're working on your conscious journey to more effective parenting, this book's going to teach you how to get your kids to listen to you. And that's, if I was you guys, that's what I would be most excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's like, if I asked that question out loud to somebody and I said, you know, hey, why aren't my kids listening to me? I think that my inner voice, my spirit inner voice, because it's always talking to me if I'm listening, it's being 100% honest. And I think the 100% honest version or answer to that is that my kids aren't listening because I'm not speaking in a way to them that the information is valuable enough to listen, or the tone behind which I'm saying it is being projected in a certain way that turns them off. And a lot of times I say to parents, when you're interacting and communicating, are you turning people on or are you turning people off? And people don't realize that the way that they speak and the mannerism in which they say things, and the courage that they have to share, and the trust in themselves to open up and reveal, is either turning people on or turning them off. And so it's an art form. So you got to ask yourself, what is it that's missing in me that every time I speak, my kids get parent deaf? And a lot of times your kids, when you've spoken to them, you speak in a certain way that it triggers them, and they put you in a box called parent deaf. And before we close, I know we're going to wrap up. My mom, when I was a kid, she used to speak to me in a certain way that I used to just hear wah, 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 right after she was, and this is how she used to do it. Every time I disappointed her, she would go, Alex, how many times do I have to tell you? And every time she did that whiny Alex, I would hear wah, 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 wah.
And she still does that.
She still does it. But I'm a grown adult now that has mastered my ability to hear people and not take it personal and not let those triggers happen. So I can hear it now, and it sounds just like her saying, Alex, I love you, and this is what I want to share with you. But that tone, so that's what kids get parent deaf, because there's a certain way about you and there's certain things that you say and how you say it that is not coming in a loving, neutral way. It's coming in with a condescending, like the undertone is like, how could you do this? You've disappointed me.
So when I was a teen, my mom would come home from work and I would come out of my room, pop out real quick just to see what kind of mood she was in, to decide, am I going to go out and interact with the family tonight, or am I going to shut out in my room? Right. I'd pop out real quick, see what she's doing. If she's doing the I'm back in my room. Yeah. I'm just the running. Yeah. So it's not even certain words. It's just the way that you are and the way that you're being. And, sometimes she, even now that I'm older, and we've been working on our relationship more and more as I grow, she knocks on my door, and if she's in a bad mood, I'm just like, close the door real slowly. If she's in a good mood, she comes real shy and they say, hey, do you want to go to the store with me? I'm like, okay. But it always comes down to the way that she's projecting herself, because I have 22 years of history of her showing me who she's going to be. So I'm not going to enter into a conversation that I know that's going to end in a fight. I just have to walk out because I know. So that's
great insight for parents. This is what your kids are doing. They're reading you to figure out who just walked in. Is it my loving, caring, compassionate, patient mom, or is it my mom that's stressed out, or my dad that's dealing with stuff? So they're reading us all the time. They're smart.
That's all the time we have for today. We're here every Friday from 12 to 1 p.m. right here on your hometown station, KHTS.